affordable housing. And we're talking with people from NOAA, which is Nashville Organized for Action and Hope, ahead of a mayoral forum that'll be happening this Sunday. We'll talk more about that. We kind of set the table in the first segment. Want to start taking some calls now. And let's go to Forrest. Hello, Forrest.
Yes, I'm here.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Okay. Am I on the air?
Yes, sir. You're right on the air.
Okay. The guy on the right-hand side, he has the right idea. Obviously, well, yeah, let me give you a little background first. I lived in Nashville area when I was in the 90s, and it was, you know, it was not the greatest neighborhoods, and some of those neighborhoods that are now so ridiculously overpriced that nobody can afford to live in them. So you have to have like 3 roommates just to be able to afford a place. Now, when I left and went back to Washington State, I lived in the Seattle area, and pricing there started slowly going out of control too. And this is the problem. I worked for Microsoft for a while. I still couldn't find affordable housing in that area because it got out of control. San Jose, same thing, out of control. Nashville is that it city right now, and there's no way that somebody's going to be able to, you know, move here and be able to afford a place. I live way the heck out in Waverly, so, you know, I can afford to live out here. But anybody that's right downtown Nashville, anything in metropolitan Davidson County is like, if it keeps growing at this rate, without putting money back into affordable housing, there's going to be a big problem. So the guy on the right is on point.
Okay.
I learned from the ladies on my right as well. Just to be clear about that.
And I mean, I guess that's kind of the essence of what we were talking about. All right, Forrest, thank you. I mean, he's kind of talking about his situation, saying it's not just Nashville, but now he's living way out in Waverly. And so I ask you this. This is, some would say, a supply and demand problem. And I'm sure there's some developers or people who own property are overjoyed that it's so expensive. And they worry when you start talking about we've got to keep prices lower or affordable housing. What if somebody just says it's a supply and demand problem and let the market take care of itself, what do you say about that?
Well, the market would take the lower wage person, not that he was a lower, and pushes them out. And so the displacement you have, so the person taking care of your mom in an assisted living makes about $11 an hour, the average employee there. So there's no way they got to do 2 jobs, as Danielle was indicating, and they got to now drive an hour out. Well, you know, they have kids, they have a faith life, they have a community, so it's like a lot of other things. It's really hard to be poor. And if you're if we have a service economy, if part of Nashville's thing is playing the music and all that stuff, well, where are those people going to live? The people opening the beer bottles got to go an hour out, and it's tough on them. So it's at some point, you know, well, we haven't hit it just yet, but those wages have got to rise, and their reality is really, really tough.
It is getting harder and harder for businesses to find, for some of these smaller businesses, to find employees who can work there, right? Because somebody maybe isn't going to drive a long way in to work at a restaurant when they could just stay out where they are. There is an economic argument for what you're talking about, for affordable housing, right? And what about that?
Without a doubt. And as there are in some cities where the supply of workers, particularly in the service industries, is becoming so acute and so critical that they're trying to work out opportunities to provide some kind of housing or some kind of subsidy. Many of them also provide, especially parking subsidies, because parking is very, very expensive, even if you have to drive in, etc. When I first came to Nashville in the 90s, I recall that there was a great deal of construction going on at Opry Land. And at that time, they were renting or buying facilities and housing the construction workers there. And we weren't even anywhere near the critical situation we are with affordable housing. So as employers' ability to hire employees to provide the services or goods that they are in business to do, they're going to be coming up with some solutions and beginning to be involved in advocating and promoting and working toward resolving this challenge.
Do you see employers being part of that process now, trying to be part of this solution, working on the political side? Do you see some of the big companies working with you all on trying to find some solutions here?
Not a large scale. I think it's beginning to happen. I think maybe recognizing the challenge is happening, and so all of us will be combining our efforts to solve this problem, because ultimately it's a quality of life challenge, and we have to decide what kind of Nashville we want.
And Danielle, I mean, to your point, I guess my other question would be, when you were talking about what you were paid when you moved here, which is not unusual, we do have an affordable housing problem, but do we have a salary problem? Is there, and is that something I guess NOAA is incorporating into this, or can you just focus on one thing? But what about just what people are paid at this point, wages?
Yeah, I think that's why one of our key issues is equity, or economic equity in jobs, because we do know that they go hand in hand together, and that we work in partnership with them as well on certain issues. I mean, when we talk about the Amazon moving here, so one of the things that comes with that is, you know, the housing affordability and everything. So we make sure to partner with other groups that are doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was on a panel with the Business Journal regional person from Seattle, and there was a chart that showed the Amazon jobs. You're saying that the average one is going to be 150,000, and in that graph and chart, the bulk of the jobs were in the 40 to 70 something thousand dollar range. So it isn't that everybody who comes or works for them is going to be making 150, but it's considerably more than what the norm is. And there is a correlation between wages and wage stagnation and people's ability to afford rents or mortgages or what have you.
So are you saying, all right, I've heard this stat, yeah, the 150,000. Are you saying that doesn't mean most of the employees are going to make 150,000? There's going to be a few up top that make 150, and most are going to make way less than that.
Yes,
I mean, the average is 150. There's going to be some people in the million category, not 150,000, to balance that out.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's exactly right. All right, let's go to Troy. Hello, Troy.
Yeah.
Go right ahead. What's on your mind?
Start off with good afternoon, everybody.
Hi.
I'm on part of this building. I'm also a senior now. And I live way out in Robertson County because I'm probably like afford the rent. I don't know why it's so hard to find a place to rent in Nashville.
How long have you lived out there?
I've been out here about 10 years now, and I've lived in Nashville all my life.
So you had to move out to Robertson County?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you support what they're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other question? I appreciate you sharing your story. Is there anything else we need to know?
Well, I mean, even when I went to apply for food stamps, I was denied based on my income.
Okay.
And so Les said, that's wrong. That's wrong.
So you were denied assistance based on your income?
Yeah.
But you can't afford a place to live in Nashville?
Right.
All right. All right, Troy, thank you. What do y'all think about that?
Well, there may be some programs, and they do have strict requirements. Some of the more familiar ones are Section 8, and we're finding that many of the owners who previously accepted Section 8 no longer do so. We also find that many of the developments that were affordable, maybe since the 50s, now that there's such a boom, they will not renew leases and put everybody on a month-to-month. They will make some cosmetic improvements, double the rents, and the people who are there are displaced. And we don't have any mechanisms to provide the equivalent of assistance in terms of helping people to find new places, et cetera, et cetera. And some other cities, when you a property goes to market value, there's some requirements placed on the owner. We don't have that here.
Okay. Anybody? What do you think about what he had to say?
Yeah, I can relate to that as far as like before I was the renter, and one of the things that happened to me was because the cost of living was going up, the owners, they couldn't afford to rent it anymore, so they were turning it into an Airbnb situation, and I had to leave, and my lease was cut. It was not renewed, even though I'd stayed there for 3 years, and then you go through the process of trying to find housing again, and I see why some people have to move out because there is no place that's affordable in this city.
Wow. Okay, let's go to another call here. Let's go to Keisha. Hello, Keisha.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Hi. I wanted to talk about affordable housing. The concern with wages and also housing. I know I used to make $15 an hour, and my rent, we're talking about 17 years ago, was $535 a month.
Right.
Now, here we are, 2019, I'm making $13 an hour, and my rent is $1,000. It scares me because every time I'm going to work, I'm concerned about my housing, but yet I do have a place to stay right now, but I'm seeing the working homeless every day I drive to and from work. And I'm not talking about lazy people. I'm talking about people working 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And when they get off work and clock out, they're in these hot cars. That's what's scaring me. So my image of affordable housing, I never even knew what it was before because I didn't have to go through that. Now I'm realizing affordable housing doesn't mean you're just looking for a handout. You're just saying, look, if my income is $1,500 a month, please don't make my rent $1,300 a month.
Wow. All right, Keisha, thank you. Do you have any?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Keisha. And one of the things that has been very instructive for me, our church does Room in the Inn. And what I learned and didn't know was that many of the men who stay there have jobs because we have to be on the ground at 5 o'clock to give them breakfast, etc., so that they can be at their jobs on Saturday mornings for 6 o'clock. So there's a lot of stigma and stereotyping associated or put upon affordable housing, and it could be anybody. There are working people who cannot afford to live in Nashville and who cannot afford a place, and everybody doesn't want to live downtown, and that's another misconception, that everybody wants to be downtown. That is not the case. People want to just have safe, decent, and quality housing, hopefully in the metropolitan area, but more importantly that they can afford. And I appreciate Keisha's concern, because if she's injured or some accident or emergency arises, it makes her very, very vulnerable.
And those numbers she pointed out about her salary, that's really disturbing.
It went down.
What do you think about her call there?
Well, I think, Keisha, we want to get you involved with NOAA. That's what I think. And so we have a website, www.noaatn.org. Anyone can go look at that website. We have a housing task force that we all participate in. We have monthly meetings. If you can't go to the meetings, you could get on the email list, so to speak. We'll notify you when there's an opportunity to call your elected official and participate in the political process. So I would say, Keisha, please join us, because we know there's people like you out there in the thousands, in the tens of thousands, going to the hundreds of thousands. And so we welcome your participation. It can be as small as getting on the email list. You can come to monthly meetings of the task force. Please come on Sunday and hear the mayoral candidates. If we have 1,000 people at that meeting, that will show folks affordable housing an issue. So if you got 2 hours of your time on Sunday, please come and show those folks that housing, economic equity, and education need to be addressed. That would be my invitation to join, is my next response after acknowledging the challenges.
All right, we're going to take a break. If you would like to call in, there is the number, 615-737-PLUS. If you have a story yourself or a question or comment, we'd love to hear from you. If you're on the line, hold on. But there's the number again, 615-737-7587. Take a break. We'll be back right after this.